Welcome into the D2 Baseball Podcast. I'm Robert Fry, and today we have on special guest Troy Merriman, the newest head coach of Tiffin University. Coach, how are we doing today?
Doing great. The weather's great here in Tiffin, so getting a chance to practice this afternoon. So yeah, life is good. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, Coach, and talk a little bit about that process of you becoming at Tiffin. Well, I guess first, before that, give a little bit of a background and then the process of, getting hired as the head coach at Tiffin.
Yeah, so I played collegiately at the University of Findlay, which is in the same conference, the GMAC. Played there, graduated in 2018, and then got right into coaching on staff there at Findlay. Was there for 6 years, spent six seasons at Findlay. Actually, the last calendar year, I got out of baseball for a year, was working at a job in Findlay at Marathon Petroleum. Was working there and kind of thought at that point maybe the baseball was over. Didn't really know what the future was going to hold. And then the opportunity at Tiffin presented itself this summer, and it was too hard to pass up. The school, the facilities, just the administrative support we get here is phenomenal, and was very fortunate to have the opportunity to step in and lead the program. And I took that opportunity. So here we are now. It's been about 2.5 months that I've been officially the head coach, and it's been a very exciting start to this new chapter, new journey for me.
And talk a little bit about kind of your experience at Findlay, because again, that was basically in your world up until last year. That was your world, like all of Findlay. Talk a little bit about that, one, and then two, how does that experience help you now lead a team like Tiffin in the same conference?
Yeah. So, obviously, like I said, I played there, had a great career. I mean, I wouldn't say great career, pretty average player, but like I had a great experience. I loved my time there, played for Coach Perrell, Steve Perrell. And then I got a chance to work with him for a couple of years until the coach who's there now, Matt Palm. I worked with him for 3 years. And so I think honestly, like, obviously I played there. And so, I was fortunate to be able to start my coaching career there and get a chance to help kind of see that program continue to grow, which was exciting. And I think that obviously, that experience and just getting the experience of coaching at the D2 level and getting to recruit, I would say the thing for me that I felt like Findlay prepared me for, to take over the program here or any program was just the experience that I got to coach. I got a lot of responsibility and opportunity to grow myself as a coach and to learn and to have the responsibility to lead groups, whether that was the hitters or the infielders, whatever I was doing at the time. Getting that kind of ability to coach and make the mistakes and learn from it, I think has prepared me very well for this opportunity, and also getting a chance to work for some really great people, really great bosses. Like I mentioned, Coach Perrell, I got a chance to work with him. He's a baseball lifer. And then obviously Coach Palm, who's there now, who's a dear friend of mine. And I really felt like he shaped me to lead the program at Tiffin and kind of gave me the experience to feel confident to do it and got to learn from him. And he's been a phenomenal mentor. So I think just the experience of getting a chance to coach, but then also the bosses that I've worked for really kind of gave me the confidence and the the ability to feel like I could come in here and do a great job. So.
And now you mentioned, a little over 2 months now being in the head chair, the first experience being in the head coaching role. Kind of what are some takeaways so far in this head coaching role that maybe you didn't really think about as an assistant?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And people have asked me that, and it's funny because, I always knew I wanted to be a head coach. Obviously from the baseball perspective, I felt confident in that. I think the thing that I've learned the most is how much you do outside of baseball. You answer a lot of things, whether that's with admissions, financial aid, you're talking to different people on campus, academically, whatever it might be, trying to talk to alumni and keep the connections going there. There's so many different things where when you're an assistant, you get to be very focused on your niche or whatever that is. If you're working with the hitters, like you get to kind of keep your main focus on that. I think that the head coach takes on a lot of responsibility that the assistants don't even know. And I didn't even know. I worked for 6 years and felt like I had a pretty good grasp on it. And then you sit in the seat and you're like, wow, okay, this is way more than I was anticipating. But no, it's been great having good mentors. Like I said, Coach Palm and others that have been able to help me kind of to get organized and figure out what's important and tackle things like that has been important. But yeah, I would say the biggest thing is just the responsibilities that you have outside of coaching baseball is probably the thing that's been the biggest adjustment for me.
And, speaking of big adjustments too, you were officially announced July 1st, and usually that's, towards the end of recruiting period. So want to get your thoughts on in terms of like getting a roster filled, in just such short notice.
Yeah, well, we were fortunate. We didn't have a lot of turnover on the roster for this year. A lot of guys wanted to stay at Tiffin, and I think that is, that says a lot about the school and the players that we have, that they cared enough to stick around for a new coach. That was huge. I got to give a shout out to my assistant, Mike Boswell. He was on the road all summer recruiting, kind of holding down the fort while they were doing the search. And he had gotten a great list together of recruits that we were kind of able to target. And actually, I mean, obviously, like I said, officially was introduced as the coach early July. And that still gave me, almost a full month to get on the road and recruit and to see players. So I felt like, thankfully, it was, it wasn't like in August where I missed all of the recruiting. I felt like I got a good month of being able to get out and see some players. And we really didn't have to bring in a whole lot for this year. Obviously, we were kind of setting our sights mainly on the 26 class. And like I said, having Coach Boswell be retained on the staff and have a list of guys and us kind of be able to hit the ground running was crucial for us from a recruiting standpoint.
And so now, like it was mentioned before, this is your first experience as a head coach, and usually head coach coincides with leadership. Now, in terms of leadership, kind of what's your thoughts on leadership, and how do you plan to implement leadership in the Tiffin program?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think first and foremost, like to be a great leader, you have to be doing things right every day, right? You can't expect people to listen to what you say or want to follow you if you're wishy-washy, right? So you kind of what you talk about, you also have to act on, and that's something that we talk about in the program a lot. Like, don't just talk about it, be about it. So if you talk about doing something, you also have to back it up with the action. I think as a leader, I think there's a lot of different ways you can kind of look at leadership. There's different styles. Some people are more vocal leaders. Some people are more lead by example type of people. And I think from a culture team dynamic, you have to have a little bit of both, because I think you don't want too many voices. Like you want a good mix of some guys who can be vocal and some guys who can kind of be more lead by example type of people. I obviously feel like everything kind of stems from the top, right? So I have to be on my best every day as a leader, bring great energy, care about the players. I think that's a big thing is showing them that you care about them and investing in them, which we do here and will continue to do. I think that kind of earns the respect from them, and then I think that you're able to get things done, from a leadership perspective that way. So yeah, those are kind of some of the things that we've talked about. Some of the ways that I've tried to early on kind of gain that rapport with them and kind of start to gain that relationship with them and show them that we're committed to investing in them. And then, I think that you reap the benefits from that as the year goes on. But like I said, I think it really just starts from how you act every day, how you show up every day. And that's kind of what I've tried to do in this experience is be the same person every day when I show up, come with great energy and, the desire to work and get better. And I think that's kind of how we've kind of started things on these first couple of weeks that the guys have been back.
And, with that being said too, you mentioned some of the type of things that, you take as a leader and a head coach. Talk a little bit about, how you plan to instill it or what you have done already to instill it at Tiffin.
Yeah. So, we're like, I'm an educator by trade. I mean, that's what I love to teach. I got my undergrad in education. My mom's a retired high school math teacher. My dad taught a little bit, my grandpa. So my wife was a teacher before we had kids. So, I feel very strongly about the education and the ability to teach. I think that's what's so unique about, being able to coach college baseball is you get get to teach every day, right? Like you get that opportunity to do that. So one thing that we do for us is we do classroom sessions pretty regularly, a couple times a week, where we meet as a group, and we talk about a lot of different things. We talk some baseball stuff. We talk things about life, trying to give them some skills to to be better people, be better students. I mean, ultimately our goal at the end of the day, which I would say, a lot of programs talk about is just the development of our players on and off the field, right? So we want to be committed to developing them as people, as students and as players as well. And I think through our classroom sessions that we're able to do, and talk about things like that, kind of is a good way to implement some of the things that we want to talk about, whether that's standards that we want to live by, daily actions that we want to have, the things that we talk about in our program that are important pillars for us. We get a chance to kind of dive into the classroom session and talk about them more in depth. And then it gives the guys the tools to then be able to go and do the action, whether that's baseball or non-baseball related. So that's kind of one thing that we've done in these first couple of weeks is run those classroom sessions. Guys have a binder with things that we're going to talk about. And I think that's been great. I think the guys have really enjoyed that. And just one way that we're trying to invest in them as people along with players as well.
And you mentioned classroom session, your background in education, the other side of it too, not just baseball, but the academic side, from a holistic view, recruiting, player development, how much does that factor into your program?
Yeah, academics is huge. It is. I think at this level for the most part, like, if you're a high academic kid, you get a lot of help through scholarship from a lot of the schools. So obviously, like from a recruiting standpoint, it obviously helps when guys have good grades. It's able to give us a chance to make a pretty competitive package for them and their family. But from our own team's perspective, just talking through the importance of the academic side, and that kind of goes back to my point and talking about how we want to develop them as people as well. Obviously there's a requirement when you're a student athlete to have school, right? Baseball is a great thing. It's why guys, choose to come to Tiffin, but obviously, you have a requirement and a commitment to being a student as well. And so talking through them with that about, hey, baseball is phenomenal. We love the chance to get to play the sport we love every day. And hopefully we have guys that get a chance to move on and play past college, right? But the reality is that's not going to happen for everybody. And at some point, baseball is going to end. And so I think just talking with the guys about, the importance of the academics and the importance of, going and being attentive in class and being engaged, because again, especially if it's the career that you want to go into, I think it's very important that you take that seriously when you're in school, so that when you're ready to start your career after college is done and baseball's over, you've got something to show for it, whether that's, the grades that you acquired, the knowledge that you retained from the classes that you took. I think that's all kind of intertwined. So, when we talk about that with the academics, it's obviously we want to have guys excel in the classroom, but not just because we want to be able to post a cool GPA graphic with our team at the end of the semester, but because we want them to see the importance of what that actually does for their future, not just the present moment.
And to kind of transition a little bit in terms of, offense, you being an offensive player and then working with hitters, given this experience playing in the GMAC, coaching in the GMAC, now leading a team in the GMAC, kind of what's your overarching philosophy in terms of hitting, and how involved are with, the hitters at Tiffin?
Yeah, very involved, I would say. I mean, that's my specialty. That's what I love to do. I think when you talk about head coaching, and you've mentioned it already, and we've talked about it, like there's a lot more to the puzzle with being a head coach than just baseball. But the one thing that I'm very passionate about, obviously, is the ability to teach and work with our players. So I'm hands-on with our hitters every day, and that's the way I love to be. I love to be hands-on and work with them and talk with them and all that. So very, very hands-on for us. Kind of the style that offensively and the hitters that we have really is, obviously, like offensively, the style we're going to try to play a team style of offense, right? So we're going to try to be aggressive on the bases. We're going to try to take extra bases, kind of take what the game gives us. So if we have the ability to get our way to first base via bunt, whatever that looks like, being selective and taking walks, getting hit by pitches, like however we can get to first base is ultimately the goal. And then from there, we want to be aggressive and be able to steal bases and put ourselves in scoring position and give us a chance to drive runs in. So from the perspective of the offense as a whole, like that's really what it's going to look like for us. And try to play hard all the time, like try to be aggressive. Know that you're going to make mistakes, but want to make mistakes going 100 miles an hour, not going through the motions, kind of that mentality. And then kind of from a hitter's perspective, really, I mean, I'm not a big like one size fits all kind of guy. I think everybody does things differently. I think the thing that we're going to preach here to all of our guys is, whatever you do, whatever that is, whether that's you're able to hit for some power, or whether you're more of a singles, doubles type of guy, gap to get, whatever it might be, like just be really good at what you do. Don't try to be somebody that you're not. Obviously the home run is great and definitely want to hit for power, but not everybody can do that. I hit one college home run in my career, and I'm very happy about that, but that wasn't a home run hitter. And I felt like something I did well was I didn't try to do something that I was not capable of doing. So that's really ultimately what we're going to try to talk about with a hitting perspective, is find out what the guys do well, and really try to hone in on that and be great at that, not try to, do things that's outside of what they're capable of doing. I think when you're, the best version of yourself as a hitter, I think that's when you can have the most success. You're not trying to chase, what somebody else is doing. You're not comparing yourself to other people. You're just focused on yourself, and the work that you're putting in for your craft. And then, I think that hopefully pays dividends when we get to the performance side, that you're confident in your ability and what you bring offensively to the team. So.
And on the kind of team side as well, you mentioned earlier about how, it's a nice day, so you're going to get outside. The opportunities are rather, limited as the days go along once you reach deeper in the fall. But, in terms of that, how do you plan to like maximize, getting outside and just being able to be adaptable to, ever-changing weather? Because, as many people may know, the GMAC, they may have a schedule, but it never falls to that exact schedule. You might have doubleheader, back-to-back doubleheader days. You might have a series moved up to a Thursday instead of a Friday. But talk a little bit about how you plan to maximize, letting guys be outside on days when you can be.
Yeah, no, that's a great point about the weather. When we have recruits in the fall and it's 70 and sunny, I tell them, I'm like, hey, would you believe me if I told you it was like this every day? None of them believe it, but we try to push that as much as we can. It's always 70 and sunny here. No, but yeah, obviously the weather is certainly a hurdle in this part of the country. We all know that. Everybody has to deal with that. I think the great thing here at Tiffin is we're extremely fortunate. We've got some incredible indoor facilities that allow us a lot of flexibility to be able to be adaptable with the weather. Here, just right behind me is our field, and then in center field we've got a nice full 100-yard turf football practice field that can give us some flexibility to get out and practice there if we need to. We obviously we've got an indoor turf space that we have, which we're fortunate for. We've got an indoor cage area that we share with softball. So we have, some indoor spaces that I think we're able to maximize to use to get things done. But obviously in the fall, you want to be outside as much as possible. So, we've been pretty fortunate. The weather's been great. I think the last couple of years, the weather's been pretty nice, even through October for the most part. So we're gonna obviously try to be outside as much as we can. We've got cages here out at the field, so we can kind of do a little bit of everything that we need. And then obviously when the weather starts to turn a little bit, we can shift inside if we need to. I do think one thing for us though that we'll do this fall is really try to be outside even on the colder days, because that's essentially what we're going to be playing in all spring, or at least for the first half of the spring anyways. So I think getting used to that and doing it, not being, still being smart about it, but, spending some time outside if it's, 40 and 50 degrees and layering up a little bit and getting out there, I think is good. I think that you need to do that, especially if you've got turf space where you can get out and do that. So we definitely will, especially on the days, maybe in the later fall where it might not be super great weather, as long as it's not raining. I think that we'll try to stay outside as long as we can, and start to get the body used to what that's going to be. Because again, we're going to play in a lot of that anyway. So there's I think a big benefit to being able to train that way in the fall if you have the ability to do that.
And so, part of Division II baseball is having a strong fan base or a strong community. So, want to get your thoughts on this, Coach. Is how do you plan to engage with that Tiffin community and continue to build and showcase this baseball team to the community?
Yeah, so this Saturday we've got our first community service event as a team here in Tiffin that we're going to go and help clean up the river around town, and wear proudly our Tiffin baseball stuff so that people know, that we're committed to, the community of Tiffin as well, not just the campus and the baseball piece. So being engaged with the community is very important to me. I want to make sure that we're seen as a team that is willing to help if people need it. I know that we still have some other opportunities this fall lined up to help and give back a little bit. We obviously have a large group of guys that are very capable of helping and getting things done, and our guys have been very receptive to that. They all want to help and give back. I think that we're very fortunate to have guys that are healthy, and so we want to be able to try to give back maybe to some people that might need it. So just doing that. I mean, we have a really strong alumni base here at Tiffin, which is exciting. A lot of alumni are very connected to the school and to the program, and I knew that coming in. I knew that they had done a phenomenal job with connecting the alumni to the program and keeping them engaged. That was a big thing for me, was keeping that engagement, keeping guys excited. And so between the alumni and just the community in general, we want to be seen, we want to be accessible, we want to be reliable as a team that can help if we have the ability to, and we're definitely going to take advantage of that as much as we can to give back to the community and the school as much as possible.
And Coach, within that too, use this time to kind of stay short term, long term. What should fans of Tiffin or people who want to be aware of Tiffin baseball, what should they expect under your tutelage?
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of touched on a little bit already, but just we're always going to be committed to the development of our players on and off the field. Talking to recruits or whatever that might be. And to future parents or whoever it is. The players are the most important thing of a college baseball program, right? Without them, you can't do anything. So we're always going to invest into them as people. Try to invest into them financially through, getting better resources and things that can help make them better on the field, whether that's technology, whether that's, more machines or whatever it may be. So always, the biggest thing is we're always going to be invested into the well-being of our players on and off the field. And then if you come watch us play, we're going to play the game the right way. I mean, that's my big thing is always playing the game the right way, showing respect to the other team, to umpires, to everybody, just mainly worrying about ourselves. We're always going to be worried about what we're doing, not worried about what anybody else is doing. We're always going to play hard, kind of that never give up mentality. I think that's going to be really our MO and how we're going to kind of operate on the field. So if you come watch us play, just, you'll come and see a team that plays together, that loves, each other and loves to play together as a group. And plays hard all the time until the last out's made. That's how we're going to do things, and always be ready for the next opportunity when it presents itself. So yeah, from the standpoint of what it's going to look like, from a culture perspective, and then from an on-field perspective, that's that's hopefully what, if somebody came and watched us or they spent a day with us, they would get a chance to see that, because that's important to me that's how we're represented each day that we show up.
And Coach, final question I have for you is, you kind of mentioned a bit of your mentors in the past, but talk a little bit about, mentors, people of influence that helped get to where you are today as a now new head baseball coach.
Yeah. So, I mean, first and foremost, my parents, obviously, just they've been so instrumental. Obviously, my dad being involved in higher level baseball between college and at the Division I level and professional baseball has been great for me. I got a chance to experience a lot of great things. He's somebody that I look up to a lot in the baseball world, just because of the way he treats his players. And so that would certainly be, a big one for me is just my parents in general. Obviously, I mentioned Coach Perrell. He's been somebody I got to play for him and coach with him, and he's just a phenomenal human being. So I learned a lot from him. Coach Palm, obviously mentioned him over at Findlay. He's a close friend of mine, and we talk once a week still. And he helps me with a lot of things and has just been a great mentor for me and showed me really kind of the right ways to do things. And then Coach Robbie Britt up at Eastern Michigan has been somebody that's been very instrumental for me, just as a young coach. And him and I have very similar values, and I respect him tremendously in the way he's run his programs at Carlston is where I met him first, and then obviously a D2 guy, and then now he's up at Eastern. So and he's been just phenomenal for me throughout this process and helped me a lot. So yeah, I would say that those are some more. I'm sure I'm missing a lot. I'm very fortunate to have a good circle and good connection here in the game of baseball, and especially from the head coaching side, some guys that can help me kind of work through this new role that I'm in. So very grateful for that. But yeah, all the people that I listed definitely are some of the big ones for me.
And Coach Merriman, we sincerely appreciate you taking out the time to talk about, your journey and in the program. And, we look forward to seeing the Tiffin Dragons in action under your leadership here in 2026.
Awesome. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate the time. This was a great conversation, and I look forward to people coming out and seeing us play.
And that is head coach Troy Merriman at Tiffin University. We'd like to give a big thank you to all of our regional tier Patreon members. We couldn't make it to the 9th inning without the support of all of you. You're the real MVPs, hitting a home run for the team every single time. Thank you.